Okay, today we're going to look at the large intestine, so we're getting close to the end. The large intestine function, as far as what it does, the most important part is that it absorbs water. So it takes water out of feces so that you do not have diarrhea. On the other hand, if it sits in your large intestine too long, it's going to take out too much water and then you become constipated. So the large intestine is very important as far as how much water is in your feces. So it's going to absorb water and electrolytes, and then it forms and stores feces until they pass. It's named large intestine because it's wider. Your small intestine is actually longer, but your large intestine is thicker, its diameter is larger, so that's why it has its name. Its length is only about 1.5 meters, where your small intestine was close to 20 meters. So small intestine, long and skinny, large intestine, shorter but wider. So if I look at your large intestine, it pretty much surrounds, your small intestines would be in here. So here is where food is going to enter the large intestine first. And here's where your appendix sits. So if anyone has had their appendix removed, appendicitis, your appendix sits right here, basically at the beginning of your large intestine. And it catches a lot of waste material. It basically is a pouch that holds some waste. And the reason appendicitis is so common is because that waste then can become infected. Feces are full of bacteria. Urine is fairly clean, but feces has a lot of bacteria still in it, and that also helps to lead to inflammation and infection. So food enters here into your large intestine, and then it's going to go up the ascending colon. Ascending means that it's going up. Cecum is the first little pouch of the large intestine. Ascending colon, transverse goes across, so transverse colon is going to come across, and then descending colon is going to come down. The bottom part is called sigmoid colon. It kind of has an S shape to it, which is where sigmoid kind of gets its name. And then the rectum is the up and down pouch that holds it at the end, and then a small anal canal that's going to lead to the anal opening. So ascending, transverse, descending, and it pretty much wraps around the outside of your small intestines. So cecum is the pouch at the beginning. The appendix, like I said, dangles off the side. You have ascending, transverse, descending, sigmoid, rectum, anal canal. So here's the paragraph that pretty much goes with the picture right before it. The anal canal opens to the outside as the anus or anal opening, same thing. It's guarded by an internal anal sphincter, which is involuntary. You don't have control over that. And then a voluntary external anal sphincter muscles. So those, again, sphincter muscles are round, and they are what are going to open and close to let the feces go through. And there's two sphincter muscles. The outside one you control, the inside one you do not. So if you look at this, it's not inside outside, it is inside. Here's the internal anal sphincter muscle. Here is the external, so outside sphincter muscle. Large intestinal wall has the same 4 layers as everything else. They do not have mucosa. They don't have, or they have some mucosa, but they're missing the villi. They don't absorb as much nutrients. Fibers of longitudinal muscle are arranged in tennae coli that extend the entire length of the colon. Little pouches are called haustra. Animals and humans probably also have issues with this sometimes, where something will get caught in this pouch. For example, we have sheep. So if a lamb dies, our dog will eat the sheep, the dead lamb. And one of our dogs would get wool stuck in its large intestine in one of those pouches. So then what would happen is this pouch gets full of wool and it distends, it gets bigger, and then we'd have to have the vet clean it out. Well, then that pouch is now enlarged and he would have reoccurring problems with that. Sometimes humans can have issues similar to that. Large intestine does not digest or absorb nutrients, so that's why it does not have the villi. It does secrete mucus to help things flow through, which is very important by the time it reaches the anal canal. The only thing the intestine does absorb is electrolytes and water. And to me, water is the most important function. Large intestine does contain bacteria of its own that does not come from the feces. It's called intestinal flora. You may have heard that word before, possibly. And these bacteria help to make certain vitamins, K, B12, thiamine, riboflavin, and basically they are going to use cellulose, fiber. This is where fiber in your diet becomes very important. Movements are similar, but it's not as segmented. Basically, you're still going to have peristaltic waves that are going to push, but they don't happen continually. So it happens only about 2 or 3, these waves only push about 2 or 3 times during the day. And actual defecation, which is actual passing of feces, defecation itself is stimulated by a reflex that actually forces the feces into the rectum, so the vertical up and down part, where then they can be expelled. So the only difference in movement in the large intestine, the movement isn't as continual. You're going to have larger movements through the large intestine, but it's only going to happen a few times during the day. Feces, so your actual feces are undigested material, something your body has not used, wastes, water, some electrolytes, mucus, and then shed. There's dead cells from your intestine, and like I said, bacteria. Feces have quite a bit of bacteria in it. The color of the feces and the odor of your feces is basically due to the action of bacteria. And sometimes certain bacteria act on certain types of foods and things like that, so you might notice, and that's just so gross to talk about, but you might notice certain odors when you eat certain foods, and that's not because of the food itself, it's because of the bacteria that breaks it down and what it's broken into. So that's a good place to stop with digestion.